So for those who don't know me, my name's Tim Brost. I'm one of the technical consultants, pre-sales consultants for AVEVA Select California, and been around for about 4 or 5 years or so. So we're going to talk about Flex and how to get there. Whether you're a potential brand new customer, whether you're an existing customer, and I know some of you guys today are utilizing and taking advantage of our Flex program or Flex commercial model. So let's talk about, just kind of a high-level overview. I know John Krajewski from his first presentation mentioned Flex and talked a little bit about the features and what that all entails. We'll kind of recap that and kind of dive in a little bit. So Flex is a subscription-based commercial model, right? Essentially, you subscribe to a allotment number of credits, and you can allocate those credits to virtually any product within our portfolio. And because of its subscription nature, right, it allows for a few different high-level value propositions to our customers. So the first thing is accelerate time to value, right? In terms of how you purchase and manage software, right, you can really take advantage of that software a lot quicker in that you can very easily just check out a license and handle the commercial side later, right? Purchasing departments, going through approval processes and things like that, right? You can check out a license, consume it, and either keep it as a part of your install base or check it back in. And we'll explain a little bit more what that might look like. In terms of flexible, right? All flexible puns are intended for this presentation, all right? But in terms of the flexibility, right? So I can take a product, right, that has a flex credit value, and if I'm no longer using that license, maybe I decommissioned a site or an area of my plant, or maybe I just grew out that functionality of that specific piece of software. I can recoup that initial investment, return that license, and apply that investment to any other product within our portfolio. So it allows you to kind of exchange and adapt as your guys' operations and the way you guys do things through the life cycle of that facility. And scalability. In terms of the licensing models, purchasing models, really allows for a lot of scalable and flexible options in terms of how to license our software, right? John kind of alluded to it earlier today in this morning's presentation, but right, the perpetual-based licenses, right, have tag counts, client counts, and you've got to know these things. We're speccing out a project. How many tags does this historian have? How many clients do I have? Do I want them to be read-write, right? And on which nodes are they going on, right? All these, just some of the examples of types of questions that we need to flesh out before we can kind of deliver a proper bill of materials, right? With Flex, we have options for node-based licensing. Oh, you want a historian? Great, here's a historian license. It's unlimited tags. We don't care what scale. Maximize, whatever's physically possible within the software. A server-based client system, whether it's RDS or web-based clients, right? Here's one license that supports both a primary and a secondary or failover RDS server. Cram as many RDS clients as I possibly can, right? Whatever Microsoft is going to physically allow me to do, or the resources of the actual hardware are capable of. And then, right, and we'll talk about that scalability can even take a step further in that you can go to a pure user-based model, right? I don't care how many licenses, how many nodes I've installed software on, right? I just care about how many users do I have touching the system. I have a flat rate for that, for those amount of users, and then I can download and install as much software as I want. And you'll notice, as you see on this screenshot here, is I have a user portal where I can manage that all on my own, right? I don't need to call up my account manager and get a quote, allow him to process it on his side. I can just submit a request, AVEVA takes it, and within a day, usually within a few hours, that request has been processed. I can come back to that portal and download my XML file licenses directly. And then, right, access to the entire portfolio, right, is a value that Flex has. So whether it's access to our cloud products, right, all of our cloud products kind of abide by that subscription-based model because of the nature of being cloud, right? We're managing the infrastructure to provide those services and solutions. So it's got to kind of operate on a subscription model. But there's also products and feature sets that are only available in Flex. So some customers take advantage of those feature sets, not just the commercial options that I mentioned before, but some of the features, in order to, transition to those 4.0 strategies and the digital transformation strategies that you may or may not be implementing today. So things like you might typically know us for in our operations control, right? Our SCADAs, our historians, our reporting packages, operations and information, right? Our PI system and other business level information-based systems, as well as our engineering suite, our asset performance management solutions, things like supervised machine learning to predict not just asset availability and downtime, right? Predicting those types of events, but for those maybe in energy efficiency algorithms, predictive uptime, product quality, right? Predicting the quality before that product kind of gets outputted, right? Based on the operating parameters, am I going to expect a good quality product? Are just some examples of things that are outside of the typical, or I would say typical space that people know us for in terms of what kind of software solutions we do provide. And all these things are available through Flex. So as I kind of mentioned and highlighted in the beginning, right, it's a credit procurement process, right? I subscribe to a certain number of credits, as I said, whether I'm a new customer or an existing customer. And I apply those credits to, if I'm an existing customer, I can apply them to my existing install base. If I'm a new customer, I can apply them to my new Flex licenses that I might be interested in. And I can centrally manage my usage, right? In the past, a lot of our customers would, document and manage their own licenses and do the best they could, and sometimes license files will get lost, and then where do those license files go? Call support, maybe get it redistributed back out to you, and there wasn't really a lot of visibility of what license I had kind of as a part of my solution, right? With this portal, right, I have visibility into those types of processes, right? I know all the licenses that I have. I know the types of that I've got. I've got the quantities of every single license, and I know the credit allotment or the dollar value equivalent of what those licenses are costing on an OpEx perspective. And that's all managed through that user-based portal that you have access to. There's ways of, security's been mentioned in a few presentations, right? There's ways of managing who has access to the portal, what they can do. Can I only view it? Can I just download licenses? Do I have full admin rights? Right? The whole gamut of things, right? And, we're not going away, right? So if, you want us to help you, more manage it, we're happy to do that, right? So we're happy to kind of guide you through that process. Some customers are more hands-on in that management process, and some customers are more hands-off, right? It just depends on, your personnel that you have within your facility, and kind of what the role you want to take place in that process, should you go down the Flex route. And, right, this is not just for our SaaS products or our cloud offerings, right? This applies to, our on-premise systems like InTouch and System Platform and AVEVA Historian, for example. So just to kind of recap on what John was discussing this morning in operations control, right? This is our named user-based licensing. And that, right, we just tell us how many users do you have touching the system, whether it's touching SCADA, touching reporting solutions, touching teamwork, or development licenses, right? However many users are touching any of those products, right? We'll kind of coordinate those types of those user counts, and then you get access to a particular core package that you subscribe to. So let's say you're a System Platform user, right? You'd fall in line with the supervisory bundle as a core base package. And every package that you subscribe to comes with a core kind of, we'll call it a, for lack of a better term, a core SCADA product or a core monitor and control product or group of products, right? Supervisory includes plant SCADA, which was formerly SciTech, as well as system platform. And then every package includes common components, right? Things that are likely to be applicable on a broad spectrum that most of our user base can take advantage of at least a handful of these, if not all of them, right? Whether it's communication drivers, right? User communications through teamwork and documenting that knowledge base. Whether it's doing professional scheduled automated reports with the AVEVA reports, right? That's a white labeling of Dream Report. You have AVEVA Insight, which is our cloud platform, right? You might have seen it in our demo booth over there, that allows for not just a cloud historian, but it's really a cloud operations platform where you can not only store your data, but visualize it in dashboards, but also do multi-conditional alerts, integrate with other systems, apply supervised machine learning to that data on top of that. And then as well as the development. And then there's some add-ons that certain customers might be case by case need, right? Whether it's a manufacturing customer, you've got different types of manufacturing solutions that we have, or as I mentioned, right, if it's a machine learning or supervised machine learning type application that you want to put on top of some of our solutions like Insight. So this guided analytics is a supervised machine learning model that you can put on top onto your Insight solution where you can build out a supervised machine learning model to predict asset health or asset availability. So, as I mentioned, regardless of the customer type or potential customer type that you might fall in today, you can get to Flex, right? For new customers, it's straightforward, right? We kind of coordinate with you the amount of initial Flex credits you might need to build out a proper BOM for your initial installation and application. And you subscribe to those credits, you check out the necessary licenses and apply those licenses. Download them from the portal directly and put them onto your system. The nice thing about the license activation is nothing changes from a activation type, right? It's still disconnected to the internet, right? You're not required to have an internet connection from your control system. It can activate it in an offline manner. And the nice thing too is even though it's a subscription model, right, the licenses are activated in a perpetual manner, right? There's no time clock on, oh, you better renew your subscription or we're going to deactivate the license, right? It's, the commercial side of things needs to be negotiated separate from running production, right? We're not going to turn off your production. I think that's a big point. For customers that are on existing perpetual customer first contracts, right, we can take the value of that customer first contract and all the licenses that encompasses and apply credits to those contracts. And then when you do the conversion, you'll have access to the portal and you'll see all your licenses that you guys own currently today. And a credit value will be associated to every single one of those licenses, whether you guys are currently using them or maybe you guys are no longer using them for one of the multitude of reasons that I mentioned before. The nice thing is once you get into Flex, for those licenses that you may or may not be using, I can trade them in, redeem those credits, and apply them for something else, right? Whether it's AVEVA reports or whether it's maybe some engineering tool, right? You can take those credits and apply them to new product. And for customers that have an install base but no longer are maintaining perpetual support, right? There's a modernization program where we can get you back onto a Flex model, but still retain the install base that you guys currently have. So it acts similarly to that second one, the customer first subscription, but you actually subscribe to a multi-year deal up front. So you pay 2 years or 3 years up front and maintain the support or the licenses going forward. It's very similar if you've been around us or maybe you've been off support for a while. Maybe a sales rep in the past has pitched a perpetual modernization, which still exists today. but this is just a way to get onto Flex through that similar type of program. So some other things that I have on the right is that customers found value is you can lock in pricing, right? Inflation has been, kind of a little bit erratic the last couple of years, right? You can lock in and guarantee pricing and know your OpEx cost, 3 years out, right? And whether or not you just submit a PO for those 3 years and we bill you annually. Some customers like, hey, I want a multi-support contract deal and I want to purchase it all up front. Well, you can do this with Flex, right? You can just purchase that 3-year contract all up front, similar to like a CapEx budget, but you're taking advantage of the other things that I've talked about with Flex. Fast license fulfillment, right? In the past, you submit a PO, we process it, might take a few days, right? In Flex, within a day, if not, 24 hours, right? But I've seen it within like a few hours. I've been monitoring a lot of our customers that are already on Flex. They submit a request, whether it's a return, whether it's a new license, and I see, the submit and the return within a few hours. So it's very, very efficient in terms of managing, the changes to my install base. We've mentioned and talked about the ability to trade in software, and in terms of version, right? The actual Flex licenses that have, if you notice, if you've ever seen a Flex license, it has a little tag of Flex at the end, right? That specific Flex license does require to be on version 2020 or later of our software. But if you're maybe, let's say, on an older version and maybe have a plan to eventually migrate, but you want to still take advantage of Flex, right? We can still provide you long-term temporary licenses to support an older version like 2014 R2. So to help you guide you in that transition, you don't have to wait, I got to upgrade first before I take advantage of that. No, you can take advantage of it now. So a couple of success stories. So the first one, we have two different types of customers, a larger enterprise customer and a small water district, right? So Sentinel Peak Resources, right, oil and gas customer, right? They were managing multiple sites and they had lack of visibility of what licenses they had, where they installed them where, right? And they're really having trouble managing their license set. In addition, right, because they were making some acquisitions and adding more data to their Tier 2 historian, they are reaching that threshold or that tag count limit in terms of managing all that enterprise level data. They actually pivoted to Flex and opted for the Operations Control Supervisory bundle. I can't remember the number of users, but they had a number of users they subscribed to, and right, that's that named user licensing where they not only got access to an unlimited Tier 2 license where they no longer have to worry about their Tier 2 tag counts, but they can add new software, change their architecture, pivot to how they've been acquiring sites and things like that, right? However they want, right? As long as their users, the user count remains the same. In addition, I think one of the results of that, right? Remember those common components, right? They're actually doing a post-mortem evaluation of, hey, with all this additional solutions that come in that Microsoft-esque Office bundle that AVEVA provides, what can we replace with what we already own, right? In this new bundle solution. So they're kind of evaluating things like AVEVA Reports, Teamwork, as well as Integration Studio to do some cloud development, right? Those are just some examples that they're kind of considering to replace, hey, we don't need to have double dip and double buckets. We can just take advantage of one solution, one cost, and kind of centralize and manage on kind of like the AVEVA platform. Goleta Sanitary District, right? So they're a smaller water district, and part of the problem that they were facing was they're paying a larger support contract for really what they were using, right? They had to subscribe to oversized licenses for InTouch, right? InTouch and perpetual models, right, has very discrete breakpoints, right? 1,000 tags, 3,000 tags, jumps all the way to 60,000 tags, right? So they were consuming these 60,000 tag licenses and paying a significant portion of support. And really, they're considering just a rip and replace and putting something in that on an OpEx side was easier to maintain. They actually subscribed to one of our unique Flex bundles for InTouch, which is called InTouch Starter. They got 5 independent nodes of InTouch. They got a historian, a 5K historian, and they also got a 5K license for AVEVA reports, all for about $10,000 a year. Right? They took advantage of that. They simplified their licensing. They reduced their OpEx cost and really aligned with what they kind of, what a customer size would kind of expect to pay in today's market. So 2 different types of examples to take advantage of Flex, whether it's the node-based Flex licensing and the packages that you saw there, or whether it's the named user license and operations control. Right? It's not to say that operations control is only for certain size customers. Right? We can pivot for that too, for scale it down, and some of those bundles, some of our mid-sized customers, not just super tiny customers, have taken advantage of as well. So, I definitely, if you're curious, definitely reach out to your account manager, or they might reach out to you, right, to discuss. I know that a lot of our account managers have been very, very proactive about at least informing our customer base on their options, and then you guys can make that informed decision for yourself. But with that being said, I hope that you learned a little bit, and thank you for your time.